Hello, and welcome to the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club, where if falling in love with your ice skating coach is wrong, I don't want to be right. My name is Courtney, and I'll be your host, and I'm joined today by Val, my reoccurring BL anime host. Hi,
What
Val.
it?
And we are covering our favorite BL anime, Yuri on Ice. This is my all-time favorite. Val, would you say this is your all-time favorite?
Yeah, hands down.
Hands down. And this is my number one delusional BL anime boyfriend. Every episode we talk about if that character from that series would dethrone our number one delusional boyfriend, and I have never dethroned Victor Nikiforov from Yuri on Ice. Little spoiler here, we usually talk about the delusional boyfriend at the end of the show, but everyone should know at this point, if you listen to the podcast, Victor is my numero uno. He is my top bae. So I am so excited to jump into this. Our tropes today for this BL anime are going to be sports anime, a coworker office romance. What would you call it when it's your
Oh,
coach? Is that a
yeah. I would call it an office romance. It's like the same energy.
It is, right? The rink is their office. We have
They're
a
at
slow burn
work.
room. They are working, and girl, they work it. So we have a slow burn romance going on here, a green flag romance, a bit of a power dynamic because we do have a coach and the person that they're coaching. There is hints of rivalry going on, not in a true love triangle way, because the character who is vying for the love interest's attention is not vying for it in a romantic way, but there's definitely an element of competition between a third person and this main couple.
Mhm.
So I think those are all of my tropes. Do you have any tropes to add, Val?
I would just say it's not really an age gap because there's only, I think, 4 years age difference, but it's like senpai, kohai, like energy at the beginning too.
And then they are from two different countries, which is really fun. So we've got like a mixture of culture going on here because we have a Russian figure skater and we have a Japanese figure skater.
Wait, I've
So
seen
if
this
you
show
guys
before.
I love this month so much because we're doing all sports romances. We did Pucking Around, which is a wide choose hockey. We did Heated Rivalry, which is a hockey romance, BL live action. I did Melting Point, which is a BL manhwa. So if you guys are into this dynamic, like getting hot on the ice, definitely tune in for our other episodes. And if you haven't already, rate, review, and subscribe and turn on your auto downloads. It really does help the podcast. And when we release bonus content, it will get delivered right to your library. So, with all of that being said, Val, will you please take us through Yuri on Ice?
Yes. Okay. So I wrote at the beginning of mine, if naming your dog after the guy you end up marrying is wrong, I don't want to be right. Every time I watch
That's
it, I forget his dog's name is Victor.
As I was doing the rewatch, I also forgot that his dog's name is Victor. Our main character gets a dog that is the exact same dog as his idol and then names him after his idol. And then the dog dies, which I feel like is a bad omen. And one reason why you should not name your dog after your crush, because that is just like extra depressing. Oh my God. I absolutely love that detail. If you guys have not watched Yuri on Ice and this is your first introduction to it and you don't want spoilers, go watch it now. But I'm assuming you've all watched it because it is peak BL anime, and I would say like the foundation for a lot of us Fujoshis in the anime space.
It is like intro to Fujo, like core.
Intro to Fujo. This is Fujo 101. Everybody in this fandom, I would say this fandom is one of the biggest fandoms in the BL space. Would you agree?
I think it's hard because this is just such a core, like early Fujo. Like this is something that I feel like everyone has seen. When you think about like new age Fujos, there's other stuff that's like more popular because it's openly canonical and we get to see the relationship. And this one, because of how early it came out and it was so intro, the fandom, I guess, is quieter because we have less to eat. Like there's less being served to us because this is all we have, unfortunately, since especially they canceled the prequel to it.
The movie, yes. So if you guys aren't aware, this is a 12 episode, one season anime, and there was a movie teased for years and 8 years, and they canceled it. This is produced by Mappa. So we have a studio that was on the brink of failure, getting a huge success with Yuri on Ice, and then going on to do Chainsaw Man and Dandadan and Jujutsu Kaisen. So they have so many big, heavy headers now that they just totally gave up on this fan base, which really breaks my heart because still, if I make a Yuri on Ice post, there's a lot of engagement. There's
Yeah.
still so many fans out there whose algorithms are geared towards this show, who are locked into the discourse around the show, even though it was released 10 years ago,
Mhm.
which is insane.
Even though Yuri isn't my like top number one like ultimate crush, I guess, he was definitely gateway because if you look at this like gray hair, silver hair that we're seeing, there's like a trend in a lot of my top tiers where it's like he's this like bratty like silver haired dude who thinks that he's hot shit. It's unmatched and you see it a lot. Like you've got Gojo, like, he's basically a Gojo character except instead of being like 6 whatever, he's 5'9".
Oh my God, I didn't realize he was that short because
Yeah.
there's when he's at the hot springs and he's wearing like the Japanese clothes, the pants are so short on him. So I guess in my head, I thought he was like 6 feet tall, but he's definitely the prototype for Gojo. That is hands down. Mappa was just like, let's reuse those panels. We can use exactly those frames from Yuri on Ice and take Gojo, put some glasses on him, put a blindfold on him, and that'll work.
You cannot convince me that Gege, the mangaka for JJK, did not watch Yuri on Ice and be like, I could do that, and made his own character out of it. The only sad piece of it is that Gege clearly hates Gojo, so I don't know what his beef is with Victor, but I hate it.
If you can get the female fan base to engage with your story, you will have a successful story. And alongside that, if you can get the Fujoshis to ship any of your characters, you're going to have success. So to take it for the studio and the author to be like, oh, everybody loved Victor. Let's take that and implement it into JJK and make it just as BL coded. It
Mm-hmm.
seems pretty strategic and pretty smart, especially seeing as both of us bought into that hook, line, and sinker. If you gave me another character today that looks like Victor in any show, I'm watching it.
Okay, so super high level. This is, like you said, this is a sports anime at its core. It is a figure skating sports anime. And before I get into the plot beyond that, even though that's the majority of the plot, other than romance, obviously, is the figure skating itself. And the choreography in this is amazing. And the work that Mappa put into this is astounding. And maybe that's why they were too scared to go in and do the movie like they had promised they would and that they had announced they would, because the amount of studying and research that they had to do, the amount of experts that they brought in to make sure that the body movements looked good, that the choreography was actually mapped by a famous choreographer. And even if you're not a Fujo, which if you're not a Fujo and you're just watching this because you're into figure skating, hi, welcome. We love to have you. But it's that good. It's like when I played volleyball, I watched Haikyuu. I'm like, yes, that is so good. Like whoever wrote this clearly understood volleyball. When this was done, it was done by people who truly had a love and appreciation and knowledge of figure skating. So the way that it was produced, phenomenal.
And we should say that this is an original anime. There's no manga source material. So when they
Mm-hmm.
were animating this, they had to do it from scratch. I've heard that each figure skater in this show had a different animator working on them so that their style was unique to that skater, which I think is really cool. And then also that they had real figure skaters come in and do the choreography for each skate routine so that they could draw as accurately as possible their motions. And it is well known that dancing in anime is really hard to pull off. Like it's very hard to
Mm-hmm.
animate dancing. And figure skating is just ice dancing.
Yeah.
So it is incredible how well this is produced. The creative energy put into this to make it accurate is so fun. And when you have Olympic athletes saying, this is my favorite anime, I love this so much, you know that they did it fucking well. They explained the sport well. They showed it and depicted the actual motions extremely well. They portrayed the like provocative emotional aspect of this sport very well. So
Mm-hmm.
overall, this is just like an artistic masterpiece, in my opinion.
Like it's not only did they have a professional, like Olympic grade choreographer come in, each of the characters was modeled after an actual figure skater. So then a figure skater could come in, the animators could watch that person figure skate and then do the routines that someone else choreographed so that they could model their characters off of specific people doing specific choreography. Like they're not just raw dog animating movements on the ice. Like, it's truly phenomenal. Like, it would have been so easy to simulcast record a live action of this while they were doing the research for the animation.
Okay, let's say it. Why the fuck is there not a live action? I would give both of my kidneys
This
for a
is
lot
the
of this.
easiest way to feed us more of this content is to just do a live action. Wait, call up, oh, what's his name? The director from
It's
Letterkenny.
Jacob Tierney.
Yeah,
Get
call
Jacob
Jacob
Tierney
Tierney.
on
Get
this.
him on the line. Eat
Him
this
on
up. Oh
the
my
line.
God.
And his name's Ilya, the Olympic figure skater who did the backflip this year. Get him in there, put a gray wig on him, and suddenly we have Victor Nikiforov. It's perfect.
Jacob Tierney is great at casting Russian and Japanese people to skate around on ice. And so I'm like, okay, do it again.
Do it again. Let's see it happen.
Okay, so into the actual storyline. So it starts off where we've got this main character who is named Yuri. And Yuri just bombed every single competition that he trained his life for, like literally all of them. At the end of his competition, the person who won, Victor, is seen like walking out, and Yuri goes to say hi or wave to him, and Victor offers to give him an autograph as though he were just a lowly fan, not even to be considered on the same playing field as him. And I was
It's so
just
sad
like,
because he's like, hey, do you want a picture with me? And once you've seen the whole series, you're like, no, Victor wanted a picture with him because Victor likes him. He thinks he's like a cutie patootie. But in Yuri's head, he's just, oh my God, you think I'm a fan? You don't even consider me competition, which is so insulting.
and then on top of that, like obviously we had already talked about his dog dying, our main character's dog, Victor, passing away as well, which is a bit, it creates like a tension point later that we kind of like circle back to. So after he bombs these competitions, he moves to Detroit to train, and I was like, where? I'm not aware of any major ice skating training facilities in Detroit, but what do I know? So after that, he the timeline gets a little warped at the beginning because he's like doing an over like a voiceover over what's happening after like we're watching him like fail and bomb and come in last and cry and fall. And so I had a
Yeah,
bit of a
he
hard time
loses
with the sequence.
Yeah, he loses the Grand Prix,
Mhm.
and we see our other character who's going to create a lot of tension, Yurio, come into the bathroom, seeing
Mhm.
Yuri, the Japanese Yuri is crying, and Yurio is younger. So this is his last competition in the junior skating
Mhm.
scene. And he goes in and he says to the Japanese Yuri, you better just fucking retire because you suck and you're a baby. He like bullies him. He's already crying and he says, there can't be two of us Yuris in this next competition, so just fucking quit. And then we do get this voiceover of the Japanese Yuri saying, after that competition, I lost every single thing in that season and I decided to take a year off of skating, and he also gains a lot of weight. And so we get that really quick like brush through of, after I saw Victor at that competition, after the Russian Yuri bullied me, I lost every competition thereafter. I took a year off and now I'm returning home to Japan on this like depression break. I have gained all this weight and I am wondering if my skating career is truly over now. So that's where we really pick up, is him going home to mom and dad. And it's that kind of canonical thing where you graduate college and you move home with your parents and you're like, is my life trash now? Were all of my dreams just did I set the bar too high and now I've not achieved anything close to what I wanted to? And so then he decides, while he's watching Victor skate on the TV, I better just go throw on my skates and I better just get back on the ice for a
I
second.
need to clear my head. I need to, because at his core, like this was his dream, right? Like he was
Yeah.
doing what he loved, and so he's going through it, right? I gotta just tackle this. I can't be around all of this disappointment from the people around me, from myself. I need to clear my head. I'm just gonna go skate.
And when he gets to the skating rink, we meet initially the lady who picks him up from the airport is like his ballet coach. And then when he goes home, we see his mom and his dad and his sister who are all working the hot springs and the restaurant attached to the hot springs. And then he pops over to the skating rink where we see the girl he always skated with, who is like his best friend growing up, and another skater who she ended up marrying, and their three kids. And when he gets
Triplets.
to the rink,
They're triplets specifically.
and Yuri gets there and his bestie from childhood is like, "Is that really you? I can't believe you've taken some time off skating. Do you want to get into the rink? It's empty." And he's, "Yeah, I would love to get in there if it's not a hassle. Will you come watch me? I've been practicing something." And they used to emulate Victor's routines, which is such a cute callback to their childhood. They were Victor's biggest fangirls. They
Mhm.
had all of his magazines, all of his posters. They learned his routines to his same songs. So Yuri gets out there and he like pops on the music and she notices as soon as he hits the first pose, oh my God, he's going to do Victor's routine. And he performs the full routine for her. Picture perfect. And he performs it with so much emotion and so much confidence and grace. And she starts crying. And then we see that her triplets have been videotaping this private performance the whole time. And then we come to find out the next day they have uploaded it to YouTube and it has gone absolutely viral.
And up to the point where the video gets uploaded on YouTube and Victor sees, and his face is just, now wait a minute. And he clearly does remember him. And so he is, fuck you to my coach, fuck you to everything else. He hops on a plane and goes straight to Japan. And that's episode like 2. So this is, it's
Yeah.
like bang, like early on, like all this different stuff like unfolding. In addition to Victor going to Japan, the other skater that Courtney, you talked about in the beginning that was bullying Yurio, as we'll call him. He's also, Victor, what the hell? You're supposed to be like my mentor. You're supposed to, like, where the hell do you think you're going? And so Lil Man also hops his ass on a plane and also flies to Japan.
This scene is so cute because he has no idea where Victor is. So he's just walking around Japan screaming for Victor. He's, "Victor, come out wherever you are. You're supposed to be coaching me. I'm Russian. You're Russian. Why the fuck are you here in Japan?" He has really no idea where to find him.
So yeah, he like fights the whole like, we're gonna call you Yurio bit in the beginning, but by the end of it, he's like, whatever, like, it's okay. But it was very quickly, they're like, all right, we gotta figure out how to discern this. Like, we definitely want them to have the same name, but we want to be able to call them something different. And my favorite quote is when Yuri was watching Victor skate, he goes, "There's so much Eros in this routine, I think it might impregnate me."
There's romantic tension here, but when he says there's so much sexuality in this routine, I think Victor's performance could impregnate me. You're like, oh, this is a BL. And anyone who wants to say that this is not a BL, that this is just a sports anime and this is not a romance, is an idiot if they hear the line, "He could impregnate me." They
This could
mention
impregnate me. It might impregnate me.
and what Val's talking about is my favorite part of this entire 12 episode series is right at the beginning because we have Victor choreographing a routine for the Russian Yuri and the Japanese Yuri. And he says, this song is it's arranged in 2 different ways. One is depicting innocent, what's the word for love that has
Like,
no condition? Unconditional love. Sorry about that. So he says one of these arrangements depicts a familial, innocent, unconditional love like that between God and creation or that between a parent and a child. And one of these arrangements is depicting sexual love and lust and all of the ways we think about love with a romantic partner. And initially we have Yuri, the Japanese Yuri, really connecting with the unconditional love arrangement. He's there with his parents in a town of people who support and love him. And then we have the Russian Yuri really connecting with the sexual Eros arrangement. And Victor says, you guys are getting opposite of what you want. And you have to show me that you can understand an emotion you're not already familiar with. And when we're going through this training regimen, it's really fun to watch Victor push both of them to understand and be able to articulate that feeling with their bodies in their skating, because they both ask him, how would you describe it? And he says, it doesn't matter. You're not thinking or talking when you're on the ice. I need you to be able to show me with your body that you feel this emotion. And he pushes them both to their own understandings of what those words mean. And we see both characters really grow. The Russian Yuri learns how to be less angry and confident and more graceful and more in his feelings on the ice. And then we see the Japanese Yuri learning how to exude sexuality. And he decides, firstly, that the only way he can connect to sexy, seductive song is through pork cutlet bowls, which is his favorite food that his parents make at the restaurant. And I can't control myself around pork cutlet bowls. They make me drool, they make me lose my mind. And he is not able to connect that further to his own sexuality because he's never had a lover. And when Victor is trying to goad him into understanding these feelings, he asks him straight up, have you ever had a lover? And how can I expect you to understand this emotion if you've never had a lover? And that really gets to the Russian or to the Japanese Yuri. And so he does eventually end up asking his ballet coach, will you teach me to dance like a woman? Because
Mhm.
I was understanding this song and this arrangement in a way that is not true to how I really want to perform it for Victor. I tried to, in my mind, imagine myself as a playboy, and I'm not that either. I think I want to be the femme fatale that seduces Victor while I'm on the ice. I want him to watch my body and not be able to resist falling in love with me. And it is, there we go again. It's a straight up BL. He's saying it in no, he's not mincing his words. He's saying, I want to seduce you. And Victor is saying, seduce me.
Mhm.
Seduce me on the ice. And then he whistles when he gets out there to perform, he whistles at him like a dog whistle. And that's why this is my favorite because it is so outrightly, straightforwardly steamy. He's whistling at the boy.
I'll also add there was like a parallel earlier on when they were deciding what their costumes would be because Victor at one point just like ships all of his old costumes in and he goes, pick whatever you like. And Victor in his one routine that I can't remember which picked this outfit, but in this one routine that I did, I had long hair and my costume was
Yeah.
designed to suggest both male and female genders. And so I think that kind
And
of turned the down the road. He's now wait, I could do the female, I could be the woman in this.
And I love when he's like, they're going through the costumes and the Japanese Yuri sees that one because he is very much, oh my God, you still had long hair when you did this. And he goes, yeah, I was supposed to be an androgynous performance. And the Japanese Yuri goes, oh, I remember. And I'm like, yeah, that was your sexual awakening, was seeing this man woman, this androgynous, gorgeous, non-binary figure skater who you could finally, you always thought you were a fangirl of Victor, but that must have been the moment where you were like, okay, it doesn't matter if he's a boy or a girl. I'm in love with him.
He's
Which, me
everything.
too. I wish that Victor, the saddest part of this entire show is that Victor ever cut his hair because I love long hair Victor so fucking much.
Yeah.
And there's a point where Japanese Yuri touches his almost like a bald spot on top of his head. And my heart just broke because why is beauty so fleeting? And he's still so handsome as like approaching his 30s. He's still so handsome.
Mm-hmm.
But that long haired androgynous Victor couldn't last forever.
Okay, so moving on from there, there's like a lot of sequences after the competition, which Yuri, not Yurio, ended up winning. So after that, they go on to do their debuts and do all of their normal competitions. So we see a lot of sequences of other ice skaters from other regions. And I couldn't list all of them out to you, but they're all phenomenal. But the most notable one for me is the guy that creams himself while he's skating.
Okay, so I also was like, okay, we don't need to mention all of the other skaters, but I would really like to mention Christoph because Christoph Giacometti or whatever his name is, he is the most sexual figure skater. He is clearly very flamboyantly gay. Him and Victor seem to have some kind of past that I can't quite put my finger on, but it feels like they may or may not have fooled around a little bit. And he talks about how he can't. He's Victor, you have to come back into the fold because I only want to skate when I'm skating against you. You inspire me. You make me, you give me that life I need to
Yeah.
compete. And then when he sees Japanese Yuri doing his Eros routine, he's okay, maybe this guy has what we're talking about as well. And
Mm-hmm.
he appreciates that same sexuality in Japanese Yuri. And I thought that whole dynamic was really fun. I thought it was hilarious. There's another character named JJ, and Alex Missile, who is like one of the big BL creators. He says that's his all-time delusional boyfriend from this series, which is nuts to me because JJ is this cocky Canadian figure skater who makes his own music where he is like the singer and the voiceover for the music. And it's just I hate JJ.
Yeah.
And then there's one other character that I would say is very notable, which is the character who's in love with his own sister. And
Yeah.
he's very gross and he is constantly competing for his sister's approval. And she is constantly trying to get him to focus on anything else but her because it's outrightly so creepy. But it's fun to see each one of these skaters because they each represent a different country and we're getting their different dance styles as well as their different like cultural touches. And again, you can see how much work they really put in to this series. And I feel like we didn't get an Olympic competition in this series, and it would be so easy to do an OVA that's just the Olympics, where
Hmm.
we're seeing them all come back and compete for their country. I think that would be incredibly fun.
Yeah.
The movie that they were going to do was a prequel movie that focused on Victor. It was called Ice Adolescence, which I think is a horrible name for a movie, but it was going to focus on Victor's adolescence, growing up, and his kind of rise to stardom. I think if they're not going to do that, they should do a sequel that focuses on all of these characters a couple years after this initial series,
Hmm.
all of them in the Olympics. I think it'd be so easy. Then we can get some banging in the Olympic Village between Kristoff and the
Okay,
other
wait, hold on.
athletes.
What if they didn't produce Ice Adolescents because they saw like how many people actually picked up on the BL elements, and if they were to do Ice Adolescents, they were gonna have too many angry Fujos that like they had to like pair Victor with someone else.
That's also what I think is that the whole point of the fandom with Yuri on Ice is the romance that develops between Victor and Yuri. And going back to Victor's childhood, if there would be a romantic element, it would be very immature and between him and somebody who we know is not going to last. And also, I just don't think it was going to be romantic. I think it was going to focus on his skating career, which is not really what the fandom was here for. The skating was a great bonus, but we were here for the love and the romance developing between the coach and the guy he's coaching. So I wonder if that will ever come back or if maybe they could do a sequel that focuses like on the Olympics with Victor going back into competition because Yuri's whole his whole driving force in his life and his figure skating career was to be as good as Victor and to compete against Victor and
Mhm.
be in real competition with him, not getting 12th place when Victor gets first, but actually going up against him. And I think an Olympic movie where he and Victor
Yeah,
really do get to battle it out and you get to see them being neck and neck would be really cool. And then we could flash back to whatever animation they did of Victor's past, make great
easily.
filler in the movie. So let's just cross our fingers because I think Netflix bought Mappa, so maybe they'll look
I
into
thought they
some
were
of
just
these
doing
old
a
series.
partnership, but yeah, there's some shenanigans going on between Netflix and Mappa, and so like it's one of those.
Yes,
Okay, so you're
maybe
saying
we'll
there's a
hope.
chance because I feel like Netflix is so money hungry that they will
Yes.
do whatever.
And they've been developing so many animes and especially original animes where they didn't have to like buy the license to the manga or whatever. So
Hmm.
I do feel like this is just like ripe for the picking. So we do go through all of these different sequences with the different skaters. So the Russian Yuri is back with Victor's old coach in Russia and he is learning to refine his style so that by the time he does get Victor to be his coach or he is competing against everybody, he won't lose to the Japanese Yuri again. So he is off doing his own progression arc in Russia while the boys are back home in Japan and they are starting to choreograph the Japanese Yuri's like free skate
Hmm.
because or yes, this is called the free skate, right?
Yeah.
Because his other program, the Eros program is going to be his like opening skate routine,
Hmm.
his short skate or whatever it's called. So they're keeping that routine and now they're choreographing his main big competition number and they are choreographing it to some original music that he had commissioned back when he was living at home in Detroit.
Hmm.
And it is really inspiring Victor and Yuri. And Victor asks Yuri, what do you want the theme of your skate to be? And he says, I want it to be on love. And this is our Yuri starting to understand his feelings and the relationship between him and his coach. And there's a moment where they're sitting on the beach, which is very romantic, where Victor asks Yuri, "What do you want me to be to you? Am I your father figure?" And he says, "No." He says, "Then a brother or a friend?" And he says, "No, not that either." And he says, "So then your lover. I can try to be your lover." And Yuri freaks out. He doesn't say no, really. He just says, "I don't know what we are to each other, but it's something different, something unique, something special." And Victor's, "Okay, I'll meet you halfway." And in Yuri's head, he thinks to himself, he's always willing to meet me halfway. He doesn't push me too far, and he's willing to be there for me in the ways that I need him to be there for me. Obviously, Victor is more experienced both in life and in the world and in romance. And it seems like he's already figured out what he wants Yuri to be to him, but he doesn't want to push him past his comfort level. So, very romantic, very green flag scene here on the beach. But we also start to see them get more intimate emotionally. And Victor is starting to hold Yuri's hand more when they're on the ice. He'll wrap his arms around Yuri and hug him from behind. He'll grab his hand and kind of do this thing where he like strokes his finger. And can we just talk about Victor's like leather gloves that he wears when he's
Mhm,
coaching in
mhm,
his
mhm.
suit? He is so sexy. And those gloves are so kinky to me. These like little leather hand gloves. Let that man do some dirty things to me.
Okay, so yes, and right there's as like that's progressing to Yuri is going through his different like skate regimes later on, and he's not really nailing everything out the gate, but you can see like the growth that he's having throughout this, and that kind of helps him get to the pinnacle that he gets like to on his last skate, where he's like reliving all of the moments where like Victor has helped him get where he's trying to go. And during his, it's not even the last skate, but there's the scene where I have to surprise Victor. And he really pushes himself out on the ice. And even though he like biffs it a little bit, you can see that Victor is so surprised. And then Victor's, okay, he surprised me. How can I surprise him back as a little reward? And we get the kiss where they go to the kiss and hug or whatever greeting area they call it. And as he's skating over, Victor jumps up, wraps his arms around him, and as he's doing it, we don't get to see lips touch. And this is where we talk about like early BL censorship, but there's a smooch, right? There's if you watch this, like the straightest person in the world could watch this and be like, "Oh no, they smooched." There's no denying it. It happened.
I think the director confirmed it. The director was like, "Yeah, that's a kiss. That's absolutely a kiss." And I've seen people like reanimate it to uncensor that part so that you
Hmm.
can see them kiss, which is really nice. But yeah, Yuri is getting to this climactic part of his skating career where he is nailing more of the jumps, trying more quads, and his emotional delivery of these routines has the audience all behind him. And when he nails this routine, he skates over to Victor. Victor throws himself into his arms on the ice, and the whole crowd watches as Victor kisses him. And it is so forward and so beautiful. And maybe people could in the world of Yuri on Ice, maybe they're writing this off as like a platonic kiss on the mouth, but I just don't know of any platonic kisses on the mouth. So these two are pretty clearly, I think, to the rest of the world in more
Hmm.
than just a coach and coachee dynamic. They're definitely in some sort of romantic relationship. And because Victor was the most popular, hottest skater in the world, and he gave up his career to coach Yuri, I think everyone already suspects that he must have some certain affliction, some certain uh, intense feelings for this man if he was willing to give up his career to go be with him. It's the peak, one of the peaks of their relationship, because there's one we'll get to at the very end, but this moment where he shows this level of affection to him in public right after his routine, it's really solidifying that these two are together. They're together. And I love this kiss scene. It when I first saw it, I was like jumping up and down. Like I can't believe Victor just kissed him in front of everybody.
And I know you said it's like much later, like towards the end, that the like next like intimacy scene happens, but it's not that much later. It's like maybe 1 or 2 episodes later where Victor and Yuri are like out in Spain and he's let's go shopping, let's do this. We'll just hang out instead of like me doing skate warm-ups. And he's been looking for a good luck charm. And so they walk into a jewelry store and Yuri buys them matching gold bands.
Their
And
wedding rings. He literally buys them like
they
wedding rings, promise
they
everyone.
place the rings on each other's fingers. And
And they're also on the steps of
the
a
chapel.
yes, of a freaking what are those massive European it's the a cathedral. They're on the
Yeah.
steps of a cathedral. There's like wedding bells in the background. They're exchanging rings on their ring finger.
Mhm.
And then they go to see all of the other ice skating competitors at dinner wearing their rings. And one of them jumps up and says, "Oh my gosh, congratulations. I
My
can't believe
friends
you
are
guys are
engaged.
married."
My friends are married.
They're, "Oh my God, you guys are, this is congrats. You're married. When we get invited, whatever." And they're like, "Oh no, they're just like good luck charms." You're joking. You're actually joking. And this is also a hilarious moment because a different character wanted to propose to his girlfriend when he won the competition. And
Mhm.
so he gets all fired up and he's, "Oh, you think you guys have something to celebrate? You haven't even won this match yet."
Yeah,
So all
yeah.
the skaters go their separate way, and Yuri and Victor, having just pretty much confessed their love to each other and exchanged wedding rings, they enter into competition the next day feeling on cloud nine. And we see all of the other skaters are really amping up their game and ready to compete. And everybody does show out. We see like the really sexual guy, Christoph, does an amazing skate where he jizzes his pants at the end, which is insanely graphic. The
The
way he
moans.
says, I'm gonna come. Like he basically says it.
He
And
announces it.
then
There's
we
moaning. It's what's the rating for this show? Just kidding.
I was like, this, you censored the kiss, but you didn't censor Kristoff coming in his onesie? Nuts to me. And then JJ, the guy who is basically pegged to be the number one,
Pegged. Yeah.
he ends up screwing up his routine because he's so focused on winning and proposing to his girlfriend after this that he messes up. And then you've got our Russian Yuri. And Russian Yuri is more so than anybody locked the fuck in. This
Mhm.
is everything he ever wanted was to win the Grand Prix or whatever competition this is. He wanted to win it as his first season in the senior competition. He wanted to be the best of everybody. The very first season he even was in their age group to compete.
Mhm.
And our Japanese Yuri obviously wants to win gold for Victor because he knows if he wins gold, he gets to keep eating pork cutlet bowls with Victor and gets to stay with him forever. He'll keep coaching him if he gets gold. So that is his motivation. And they are in this competition. Everybody's kind of neck and neck. Yeah.
Right before they exchange the rings, they have a moment where Victor and Yuri they like are reunited, they're embracing, and Yuri goes, "Be my coach until I retire." And then Victor
Yep.
goes, "I hope you never retire."
Oh,
And it was so sweet. But then they like flip flop because because then later down the line there's a moment where he's, "Hey, I changed my mind. Like I don't just want you to be my coach. Like I want to be your equal, more or less. And
yeah.
I want you to keep coaching and obviously
Skating.
keep skating, not just coaching. You're not done."
And he's not.
And he's not.
He's got more skating left in him, and really, how can Yuri know that he has ever given it his all and tried to be the best if he's never skated against the best?
Mhm.
Like he's skated against Victor in the past and not even come close to him. And now at this point where he has gained all this confidence and knowledge and experience out on the ice and romantic experience and emotional experience, now he feels like he might really be able to get out there and skate against him. And that is a really great showing of how they are equals and how Victor at this point does see Yuri as being his real competition, being on his level, and the fact that neither one of them wants the other to retire, that they still feel like going into their late 20s, they
Mhm.
have the possibility to continue competing at this top level is really fucking cool. And I think that's why it also gives us hope that there could be another season because they're not done yet.
Right.
Also, It should be noted for the girlies out there, there is a X-rated, like a totally X-rated animation of this that is fan made called Night in Barcelona, which takes place in Barcelona during this period of the anime, and it's not canonical, but it is full on graphic sex production, a real hentai if you will. And our characters, like the beginning of it starts out with them kind of talking about how Victor needs to keep skating and how Yuri wants to skate against him. So it's fun how they loop that in
Mhm.
that fan production. And I will say the animation is like the same level as the normal anime, which makes me think that someone working on this
Someone
production
from
went
Mappa
and made.
left after they canceled Yuri and circled back.
They're like, honestly, the whole time I was animating Yuri on Ice, I was also working on this side
That's
project,
so
Night in
funny.
Barcelona. I might as well release it to the masses somehow. So it is, I think it's really cool that the two of them want to keep their skating career going while they can.
Mhm.
So at the end of this main competition, it's very explosive and exciting. And I will say that there's not a single episode in this series where I'm not like locked in, even though I don't consider myself a sports girly.
Uh-huh.
I really got hyped about these competitions. But at the end of the day, our Russian Yuri does take home the gold, and he is even better than Japanese Yuri. He's better than JJ, the guy from Canada.
I'll
Yes.
say it's the dynamic between the characters is precious because even though Yurio sees Yuri as his rival, there's almost this like familial, like older sibling energy more than like a true rival energy because before Yurio goes on the ice, Victor sees him like in the hallway and is like, you better give it your all out there. And even while he's like on the ice, Yuri is screaming to Yurio, good luck, like you've got this. And like he is like genuinely cheering and rooting for him to do his best out there.
And our Russian Yuri is a real black cat, dark cloud character, but he does end up rooting for Japanese Yuri. And he watches his performances. He is enraptured by him when he's on the ice, and he is rooting for him. And I think that's so cute because all of their time together at the Hot Springs Hotel when they're training to do that initial competition in like episodes 2 and 3, all of that is so bonding. It's like when you go to a sports camp with your
Mhm.
teammates for 2 weeks and you come home and you're like, I feel like those are my best friends now, even the people I wouldn't normally be friends with. We have all of this. eh, We had this trauma bonding over wanting to throw up because we were working out so hard and late nights practicing where we couldn't get it right.
Mhm.
And Russian Yuri even ends up helping the Japanese Yuri figure out his quad sow cow, which he can't land,
Yep.
knowing that it could make him a better skater if he can nail that move, but he wants him to be the best he can be so that when he beats him, he knows that he beat him, even given all the resources
Mhm.
available, he was better. And
Yes.
he wants him to be his best self so that they can all walk off the ice proud of each other. And
Mhm.
I love that camaraderie. And I think this year in the Winter Olympics, we saw a lot of that camaraderie between different countries. We saw these athletes trying to, especially the women figure skaters, we saw them rallying behind each other and supporting each other and celebrating each other's wins. And that was so fun to see. So I really love that in this story as well, that you feel like everyone is rooting on each other and that they're all, even if they lose, they're excited to come back next year and go against these people again. Like it's reinvigorated all of their competitive spirit, which is super fun. So our Russian Yuri wins, and I
Also,
was.
we didn't get into
Mhm.
Yurio's background, which like he's this like black cat guy, but like his mom passed away and he was raised by his grandpa. And we see like very few interactions with him and his grandpa, but my favorite one, and it's just like little plants like throughout the storyline, is that right before he goes to compete, like his grandpa shows up and he gives him it's like a pocket. I can't think of the name
The
of the
Piroshki, I
yeah, it's a
think.
pierogi, you're right. And he's, oh, it's good. And the grandpa's, what's wrong? Or how was Japan? He goes, oh, I had pork cutlets. And he's, oh, my pierogies aren't good enough for you anymore. And so then, like later on, when he goes to cheer him on for his next competition, he brings him pork cutlet pierogies. And he's so excited. And then he later on shares them with Yuri after the competition. And it just shows his his growth and progression and how his relationship with Yuri and Victor grew, but also because his unconditional love Eros routine, he relates it back to his grandfather, and then that kind of like expands into the other parts of his life where he's, oh no, I have love and support from other people. Like it's not just my grandpa, it's these other people around me. And I think that is what really carries him over.
And then Russian Yuri also gets a love interest with, I think he's like a Hungarian
Mm-hmm.
skater who's not quite in the same league as everybody else as far as his talent goes, but he's in the same social circle. And he ends up picking up the Russian Yuri and taking him for a motorcycle ride. So I think that there's ample source material, or there's ample material to jump off of here for another movie where we have all of these characters, maybe in the Olympics, whatever, and we can advance not only their skating plot, but also their romantic plot. So with all that being said, is there anything else you wanted to add about this series? Anything that jumped out to you?
Yes. So earlier you were talking about how Victor kind of takes his time and like getting Yuri to a place where he's comfortable with him and with his sexuality, like the Eros routine and everything else. And the parallels between Victor and Rozanoff from Heated Rivalry are insane to me, because the way that Rozanoff treats Shane and Shane's autism and how Shane needs time to get to feel certain things, especially as we get later in the Heated Rivalry series, because I've read all of them, it really just parallels Victor and Yuri so much. So if you haven't read all of Heated Rivalry, I know that you're doing an episode, we've already done an episode on it. And so definitely read that, because you can totally see like it's more than just Russia, Japan. Like it's really in the way that our Russian lead treats the Japanese bottom and how they just genuinely care for each other so much. Plus, we talked about how we wish that we got to see these two kind of compete in the Olympics or get to skate together in a two-person routine. And you get that in Heated Rivalry, where you get to see them do the All-Star game and play together, and they go to the Olympics and they compete and stuff. And so it really scratches that itch of, okay, we didn't get a live action, but we did a little bit. Like it's an adjacent live action, different universe sort of thing. So I wanted to talk about that because that was huge for me during my rewatch. And the last thing that I wanted to mention was I have from Japan this Yuri on Ice official fan book called Go Yuri Go, and it's not an art book, it's like full of material. It's got character profiles. It's where I saw that Victor was actually 5'9", and it talks about like the design of their costumes, and it talks about the reflectiveness in Yuri's costume and how it was supposed to look like there was ice on it, and it talked about how the very nuanced facial expression differences between the first time that Yuri does the Eros routine and the last time that he does the Eros routine. Like you can see the sexy subtleness in his face really come through. And there's an interview with the director where you can really feel the censorship in this, and even for the production team and the directing team in this, because the director is asked about the rings explicitly. And he does say, or I think the director's a guy, they talk about how they're really just good luck charms and things. Like it's super common in Japanese culture. And I'm just kind of like side-eyeing it because, as you mentioned before, we talked about how now we talk about it, we're like, oh, it's definitely a kiss scene. There's no way that ring exchange wasn't more. Like there was the symbolism of the cathedral, and we talked about that. And so the fact that even in these like fan books, they're still forced to operate within the constraints of knowing that there is massive censorship. And I know it was 10 years, but it made me think, okay, if this exact team were working on this today, how much more would we have been fed? How would that really affect how we take it? Because I think a lot of our fandom is around like us being able to read between the lines.
If we could get like a happily ever after wedding OVA where they go to the Olympics and then they invite all of their friends from around the world to come to a little wedding ceremony where they're in white suits, and they get like on top of their promise ring another wedding band or a little diamond added to it, and we could really explicitly say, no, this is romantic, these are wedding rings, they are together forever, they are partners, they're husbands. That would be the cherry on top of this whole fandom. And I know in that fan book you have the same right behind Val. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see her hot springs photo, and you were telling me that is also in this magazine. Oh my God. And I feel like that kind of naturally, I want to talk about our delusional boyfriend from this. So can we both agree that Victor is the top tier delusional boyfriend from this?
Hands down. Absolutely.
Hands down.
No contest.
Hands down. And I'm sad we didn't talk about it sooner, but this hot springs depiction of Victor, we get to see him throughout the series stretching in the hot springs, standing up in the hot springs, completely nude, like boulder butt.
We've got the Russian guy with the perfect ass, Russian guy with the perfect perfect ass, okay?
And it is so juicy. His physique is so hot. I wish that the moment where he stands up in the hot springs and the like fountain is covering his massive dong wasn't there. I wish we could get it all, but like I said to you guys, there is a fan animated, extremely mature, explicit video if you want to go see it. And in that video, they do have Victor as the bottom, which I think is a very fun dynamic switch up. And so if you guys want more of that, go find it. But Val, have you never watched Night in Barcelona?
No.
I'm dying. You've never watched Night in Barcelona.
No.
Not only is he a bottom, but he's a bottom who is on top. He is riding our boy Yuri. So you have to go fucking watch it. It is completely uncensored. It is so good. I hope you enjoy it. That is an amazing watch. And I'm very jealous of you that you still have that piece of content to go explore. But I would say this is my number one all-time BL anime, Delusional Boyfriend. I hesitate to say like all around BL, but definitely Victor takes the cake for one of my absolute all-time favorite characters. I love him so much. I love a Russian accent. I love the fact that he is so sexually forward and very confident in his sexuality and locks eyes on the man he knows he wants, and also has a very dominant personality. He likes to give him orders and he likes to be obeyed. And he even likes a little bit when Yuri disobeys him and he gets to reprimand him and cheer him on. So I really loved all of those parts of his character. He's number one for me. Would you date him in real life?
Yeah. For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's like a perfect in real life boyfriend. Yeah. He's a rich athlete with 5 gold medals. Like anytime, Victor, give me a call.
I'm also an ass lady.
So if you guys are listening and you have a different top delusional boyfriend from this series, let me know. Like I said, Alex Missile, who did our Jinx episode, his was JJ, which is crazy. If Kristoff is your delusional boyfriend, you're insane, but let me know.
Insane, and
also,
I love you for it.
Get it. I love you, get it. Kristoff is so fun. He's such a vibe. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm so excited to be doing all of these fandom favorites and touching on some of the stories that made me a Fujoshi in the first place. And I'm so happy to be doing rewatches for them. Thank you so much for being here, Val. You're the best. Will you tell everyone where they can go follow you on all your platforms?
I'm Girls Gaze Animes basically everywhere except on Twitch. I'm Girls Games, GAYMES. Anime is there, and whenever my life allows me to, I do playthroughs there, and I haven't posted a podcast in a while, but I will be doing more of that, except I have a trip to Japan in 2 weeks, so I'll be on a mini hiatus, so please follow me on my socials so you can watch me travel around Japan for 2 weeks. I'll be going to the Yaoi dungeon, and I'll be going to Anime Japan and doing a bunch of weeb shit, so if you want to be along for that journey, follow me.
Val's socials are so fun to follow, and she's doing a bunch of cons this year and panels at cons and getting news back for all of that. So go follow her on all of those socials so that you can see all of the fun stuff she's up to. I will be going to Ireland at the end of this month, so follow me on my socials, which is Delusional BF Book Club or Delusional Boyfriend Book Club everywhere. If you're not watching this on YouTube, go subscribe to our YouTube for me. It would help a million. And if you guys are following along on socials, I'll make sure to bring you along to all the manga book stores in Dublin and show you where I'll be reading my BL on the shores of the coastal rural Ireland that I'm going to go visit. I am so happy to be doing this podcast. Thank you guys all so much. And until next time, remember, sometimes the delusion
is the solution.
Bye.
Bye.